It feels really surreal for Black Thoughts to be winning an award, like period, let alone like record of the year by FBI. Like that's crazy to me. I made this record like 4 or 5 years ago and held on to it because I didn't think anyone would ever listen to it. So the fact that not only people listen to it but also kind of have recognized it is just, yeah, it's pretty surreal. The process of writing Black Thoughts, I think, pretty much set the rest of my career up for failure because it was really easy in a way, because I was just like writing what was really real to me. I met Cal, a producer, and now like a lifelong friend slash family, Jack, and we just like, I don't know, we just kind of collided, and we'd both been working independently by ourselves, and then we got in a room together and I was like, oh, this is the sound of this record that I've been, holding on into my head for my life, kind of thing. And so then it all just kind of came flooding out really quickly. 2020, it's a year I'll never forget. And obviously with Black Lives Matter happening across the world, I remember because, Black Thoughts had been sitting on my computer for 5 years mastered. So like it wasn't reactionary, like on May 25th when, George Floyd was murdered, and we all kind of took a moment because it was such an unprecedented time for everyone with, the pandemic happened. Like we were in the middle of the pandemic, so I think we had so much more time to recognize how messed up that moment was, and then it also afforded us, I think, the space and time to reflect what that meant for us. And I think when I was like reflecting upon it, I just found myself going back and listening to Black Thoughts. Like for myself, I was like, I just want to listen to this album, and like in a way the context had changed for me because I was so removed from it. Like it's such an old album to me, but then it like still spoke to me in such a real way, and I was like, that in a way is terrible that it's still relevant. But then I also just was like, it's no longer about if people are ready to listen or if they're not ready to listen, because the ugly truth is these messages are going to be like important and poignant for many years to come. When I decided to put it out, it was completely empowering. There was no more fear. And I'd been holding a lot of fear like throughout my journey, like trying to, because no one in my family has ever been a successful, and I'd say that with air quotes, musician, but like, like we didn't grow up like with that as an option. So I've always just kind of tried to figure this shit out myself. And I didn't think a way to be successful was to like be really honest with, 97% of the audience in Australia, like the consumer market, is non-Indigenous, and a lot of them might disagree with what I have to say. So like a way to be successful is not necessarily to make all of them feel really uncomfortable. And 5 years ago when I made this record, like the landscape was very different. But I think I just kind of came to a place within myself where it's like it's life and death for us, like we're continuing to die in this country as Indigenous people. So it wasn't so much about like me and my career and this is the best career decision. It was just like, what's going on in the world? Like it's always been going on and it's not going to stop going on. So for myself as an artist, like I would like to use my voice in an honest way. In our industry, there aren't a lot of independent artists in Australia. So like to not only be completely independent, but like independent of like what is like popular music, because like obviously there aren't a lot of albums like Black Thoughts, but just to be able to do it, it was just completely liberating and freeing. There was a real intent, around wanting to start a conversation with this album, because as much as I would love it to do more, like I don't have control over that. And I think the only way we're going to see change in this country is through building people's capacity to think critically. If people kind of recognize that there's issues going on here, how are we ever going to fix them? So I think like before we come up with those amazing solutions, like we have to build the vocabulary and the ability to recognize and talk about them. I thought I had to build my platform as an artist and then be able to talk about this stuff. And then I realized the platform is this stuff. Like my voice is this message. Like this is who I am. So putting out this album, like it means I get to talk about it all the time, which is like a gift and a curse, because it's like also hella draining and like super taxing. But it's also like such a privilege because a lot of people in my community are voiceless and aren't afforded an opportunity to talk and be heard. And for me, it's never been about making people agree with me. You know, you don't have to agree with what I'm saying, but like, let's at least talk about it. Because I feel like in this day and age, it's about like being polarized, like it's yes or no. Like, but like, if we just polarize each other, then there's never any room to grow. And there's, you know, like normalizing changing your opinion or changing your understanding when different information is presented to you. And I'm not naive, and I know a lot of non-Indigenous Australians have probably never had a conversation with someone like me or ever been taught this stuff in school. So for me, it's like trying to bring these conversation starters to people to then be able to grow from there. I never want to tell people what to take away from their experience with Black Thoughts, or with any of my art, honestly. Like that becomes like a dictatorship, you know, and I think my intent is just to try and make people feel. It's just trying to move people. And if that moves you to be like, I hate this guy, I hate everything he stands for, like that's all right. Like you don't have to. If it moves you to want to be more educated, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, if it makes you feel sad, like that's your feelings, you know. And I'm never gonna try and control people's reactions to things. It's just that I guess I would ask people to understand that there's a lot of intent behind what I'm doing. Like if I say something that makes them feel challenged, like there is like a reason or there is a real lived experience that's behind what I'm talking. I'm not just being inflammatory for the sake of it. Like it's a device, like it's a literary device. Like if my music makes you feel anything, like that's the mission accomplished. Like you talk about something if you care about it, and you can care about it in a way that I might like or I might not like, but I'm not in control of that. It's been like honestly pretty overwhelming and very surreal the way the record has been received. You know, by no means did I ever think it was going to be like this commercial smash that's like on top of the ARIA charts or anything, because of where we're at. But like, you know, the fact that you know, April 25th, a song like April 25th is being recognized by FBI, to me is crazy, you know. Like the fact that the record is being recognized, it's just so surreal, that it is being, you know, that the messages are being amplified by different platforms, you know, such as FBI and you know, I played the Opera House this year and Hammer Hall. Like the fact that in like the middle of a pandemic, like this message was supported by a lot of different institutions was so surprising to me, and I think really motivating to me as well. You know, like there's obviously been both positive and negative feedback, but to me that's not how I gauge anything, because once I write the art and then I put it out, like I've done what I'm supposed to do with it, and then how people react with that from there, I don't have control over. But in saying that, like I'm psyched, like it's crazy. Like in my wildest dreams I mean, that's a lie though, because also I'm like, why can't an album like this be super commercial? Like why can't we like push our art and push our audiences and challenge them, like also in a mainstream way? So like there is the part of me that is so obviously humbled because I don't expect anything, but then at the same time I'm also like, I would love in another 5 years from now that another young artist coming up can put an album out like this and it be celebrated in a commercial space.